Samuel chapter 18. We read verses 10 and 11. We're talking about King David. No, not King David yet. We're talking about David. And to this point, he's been anointed to be king. After that anointing to be king, he was sent back out to the fields to tend the sheep. He's gone up to the palace a couple of times to play the harp for Saul. And gone back to tend the sheep. And in doing so, he was called by his father to go out and take a lunch to his brothers out there. And he was sent up asking for the commander. He sent bread for his brothers and cheese for the commander. And while he was out there, he slayed the giant. He slayed the giant. He heard the defiant words, made him strike fear in David at all. In fact, his ire, he raised his ire that he could boldly speak against God like that, and that no one was defending, no one was saying anything, no one was doing anything. So he did it. He did what nobody else was doing. He did what nobody else had guts to go out there and do. Grown men, fighting men, seasoned soldiers, afraid to go out and fight the giant. Even at the promise of a reward, not even that could move and inspire or spark them to go out and defend the name of God. So, like I said, David had no fear. David took it upon himself, went out and slayed the giant. So after he slays the giant, all of Israel knows. And they're singing David's praises. They're singing the king's praises. But David's been added in. Because usually when they come back from battle and they're rushing out to meet the king, it sings about his victory, the king's victory over the enemy. And regardless of who did what in that victory, the king is the primary one mentioned. This particular time, after David slayed the giant, wasn't the same. I'm not singing this week. But David got added into the praise. Saul having slain his thousands, David his 10,000s. So everybody knew. And it wasn't like it was a secret, because they had been out there at war, quote unquote, at war. No, they've been sitting out there cowering at the words of a giant for over 40 days. But then David comes, and all of that ends. Not only does the trash talking end, Goliath's life ends. Not only does that end, but it ends the threat of the Philistines from that time. Because as soon as his head got lopped off, as soon as he got hit actually with the stone and went down, that struck fear through the whole Philistine camp. David lops off his head. Now the Philistines are out. We out. They just bug out. They don't try to back up or nothing. Armies of Israel follow behind him, slaying them, chasing them back to Goliath's own hometown. Come back on their way back home. They get to pillage and plunder. Loot, if you will, the Philistines' camp, because they left everything behind. Left it all. So whatever they had, with them on battle, possessions, their weapons, whatever it was there, they got it. So David comes back. And Saul says, "Who are you? Who are you?" Now this may seem unusual that Saul asked David who he was, but remember, it's been some time that David's been going back and forth, tending sheep and playing the harp. So there was some periods of times that elapsed. And so there's a good chance that David's appearance had changed to the point where Saul had to ask and be reminded of who he was. David answered and said, I'm the son of your servant Jesse. So again, here we come. They come back into the city. Saul, you're singing Saul's praises, but David gets a verse in there too. A greater verse than what Saul had. So from that moment on, Saul kept an eye on David. In fact, chapter 18, verse 9, Saul looked at David with suspicion from that day on. The King James said, Saul eyed David from that moment on. Okay, well, we're going to pick up in 1 Samuel chapter 18. We're going to pick up in verse 10. In fact, I'll read verse 9 again. So Saul, this is from the New King James Version. So Saul eyed David from that day forward. He had his eye on David. Saul was fearful because now the whole nation of Israel was acknowledging David in a greater manner than they were him. So as king, he realizes that with them elevating David, with them loving David like that, the only thing left for David basically is to be king. So pick it up in verse 10. It says, and it happened on the next day that the distressing spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied inside the house. So David played music with his hand, as at other times, but there was a spear in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the spear, for he said, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him, but had departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from his presence and made him captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Therefore, when Saul saw that he behaved very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. So here's the first attempt by Saul to take David out. Actually, there are 7 different times when Saul tried to kill David. 7 different times. As we just read, he tried to throw a spear at him. He tried to trick David into fighting the Philistines so the Philistines would take him out. He commanded his servants to go kill David. He threw a spear at him again a second time. Then he sent messengers to kill David. Then he went to Samuel's house to try to kill David. Then his final straw was to have his son Jonathan, who had betrothed strong covenant friendship with David. He commanded his own son. He wanted to use his own son to bring David so that Saul could kill him. But as we see, all of those attempts failed. But what we're going to talk about today is Saul's first 2 attempts. Saul's first 2 attempts to kill David. Now, this relationship between Saul and David was tenuous. It could be probably defined as a roller coaster. Because you have Saul being tormented, David being summoned to the palace to play the harp to soothe Saul, as the tormenting spirit from the Lord came upon Saul. So David, who's anointed to be king, called to the palace to simply play and soothe the soul of the tormented soul of the sitting king. So here now Saul, after the battle, David has found such favor. He said, well, you're not going to go home again. You're going to stay here at the palace. But then after they get back, they sing Saul's praises. David's praises is a little bit greater. Saul's mad now. So from joy at having won the battle, even though he didn't lift a finger to do it, Saul, because of David, finds favor, you're going to come live in the palace. David gets praised his son higher than Saul, so Saul's mad now. But you see, in all of this, Saul's up and down, Saul's back and forth about David, didn't change the fact that David was anointed to be king. Didn't change that fact, because God had done it. God had done it and carried it out. So nothing man could do would change what God had appointed, what God had said was going to happen. So Saul, again, being tormented by this spirit. David comes in, he's playing for the purpose of helping Saul, playing for the purpose of easing the torment that is upon Saul. But what goes through Saul's head? I'm going to pin him to the wall. Throws a spear at him. Now we're talking about being in a throne room. It doesn't say specifically where they were, but wherever they were, Saul had a spear. Saul's a warrior. Saul's a fighter as well. He's a trained fighter. He's a king. He's been in battle. He knows how to use a spear. But even as David sits playing, in an attempt to soothe, Saul's barely thought in his mind is that, you know what? I'm going to pin him to the wall with this spear. He throws the spear. David moved. He missed. Whatever it was, he missed. He failed. After he failed, because it even says in here in verse 11, Saul cast the spear, for he said, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped his presence twice. So 2 times now we have instance of David escaping. You know, he says he threw the spear, he chucked the spear at him. Okay, boom, it missed, whatever happened. It says David escaped his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him. He wasn't just jealous anymore. He wasn't just jealous now because David had gotten a greater praise sung unto him. He was not just jealous anymore. Now he throws the spear. When he misses with the spear, now he's afraid because now something was clicked. Now he's afraid of David because the Lord was with him. And therefore Saul removed him from his presence. I don't need you to play harp anymore. I'll deal with this on my own. And he made him captain over 1,000. He put him in the army. And putting him in the army, it says, and David went out and came in before the people. It's just saying that he was a public figure now. It's just saying that he's got a platform, not necessarily as a speaker, but the people were seeing him come and go. People were seeing him come and go. Verse 14, it says, David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Think about this now. Saul. What is all the stuff David has been through with Saul? I'm going to kill this giant. Okay, put on my armor. No, you can't. Okay, go ahead and go. I got this tormenting spirit. I'll play the harp and soothe your spirit. Okay, while I'm doing that, you throw a spear at me. I have to escape you twice. You missed. Okay, I'm going to make you commander of 1,000 in the army. And David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. His life was threatened, and David behaved wisely in all his ways. And the Lord was with him. You see? Therefore, when Saul saw that he behaved wisely, he was afraid of him. Saul is finding all these reasons now to be afraid of David. Okay? Number one, he's afraid of David because the Lord is with him. That's pretty much all you need. Because the Lord was with him. Okay? So now Saul's done everything that he's done, but David behaves wisely. David didn't start cutting up. David didn't start acting a fool because Saul tried to pin him to the wall with a spear. Okay. David didn't start thinking of himself. David didn't start thinking, I can't hang out in here. This dude is nuts. I can't do this. I can't do this. How is he going to throw a spear at me when I've done nothing but serve him? I haven't preserved myself. I haven't promoted myself before him. How does he have the unmitigated gall now to try to take my life? Lord, why did you bring me to this place? Lord, you anointed me. Lord, you made it possible for me to be in the palace. You allowed me to slay that giant. And now, I've done nothing but serve you. I've done nothing but serve Saul faithfully. And he's trying to take me out. Lord, what's wrong with this situation? No. It says David behaved wisely in all his ways. And the Lord was with him. Not because the Lord was with him. David knew that. He knew that. David already had that in his head. And he had it better than having it in his head. He already had that in his heart. Because if it had just been in his head, as soon as that sword, as soon as that spear missed him, he would have gone back to Jesse. David didn't run home. David didn't run to where he thought it would be safer. David didn't take himself out of the situation. David didn't end his assignment. He knew what his assignment was. His assignment was from God to be in that place. His assignment was to do everything that he was doing unto the Lord. Even unto serving a king who's trying to kill him. David behaved wisely in all his ways. All his ways. That's the key word in that is what? We say wisely, no. In all his ways. In all his ways. You see, he could have behaved wisely in some of his ways, but in the ways that he wasn't behaving wisely would have been his downfall. David behaved wisely in all his ways. Therefore, when Saul saw that he behaved wisely, he was afraid of him. Just added to his afraidness. That ain't even a word. But it just added to Saul being afraid. Gave Saul greater reason. Because you think about it now, this guy's here trying to serve, trying to soothe you, and you throw a spear at him, he gets away. He just goes on like nothing happened. David is as cool as the other side of the pillow. Got that from the late Stuart Scott, ESPN. But David is cool. He's behaving wisely. He's behaving how he knows the Lord would want him to be. Because he knows who he is. See, he knows that he's anointed to be king. He knows he's got this job in the palace. But it's not to be king yet. It's simply to be harpist, musician. He's not trying to go above and beyond that. He's serving faithfully and doing what it is that he's supposed to do. So that even when an attempt is made on his life, the spear goes by and he can continue serving. Behaving wisely in all his ways. Giving Saul nothing but more reason to fear him. It says, but all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. Because he was a part of them. Because he was out and about among them. So this is Saul's first failed attempt to kill David. Okay, bear with me now. We've got a little bit of reading ahead of us. Verse 17. Then Saul said to David, here's my older daughter Merab. Excuse me. I will give her to you as a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, let my hand not be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him. You old trickster. So David said to Saul, who am I and what is my life? Or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it happened at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel, the Maholathite, as a wife. Now, Michal, Saul's daughter, another daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. So Saul said, I will give her to him, that she may be a snare to him. And that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David a second time, you shall be my son-in-law today. And Saul commanded his servants, communicate with David secretly and say, look, the king has delight in you, and all the servants love you. Now, therefore, become the king's son-in-law. So Saul's servant spoke these words to David. So Saul's servant spoke those words in the hearing of David. And David says, does it seem to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing I am poor and lightly esteemed man? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, in the same manner David spoke. Then Saul said, thus you shall say to David, the king does not desire any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines to take vengeance on the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. See, here he is. He's trying to marry off his daughter to David, which was part of the deal for killing Goliath. That he would get to marry the king's daughter. But you got to think, somehow going back and forth between the palace and back to his father's farm, David somehow got to know Michal. And so when Merab was offered, David in humility, like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because as tradition had it back then, when you were offered, you had to pay a dowry. You had to pay a dowry. And David, knowing that he was digging on Michal, didn't want Merab, so he offered up the reason of, I don't have a dowry. What kind of dowry can I offer to the king? He said, who am I? What is my life and what is my father's family that we could offer a dowry to a king? Can't do it. Sorry. So she was given off to somebody else. And then Michal steps up. Well, guess what? David, we kind of digging. I love David. And David didn't object in that time, in that same way. So Saul said, aha, this is it. I got it now. Not only will she be a snare for him, but I can use this now to get him to die at the hand of the Philistines, and nobody will be able to trace it back to me. Nobody will be able to say Saul killed David.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, nice try there. So he says, sends the message to David, well, you know what? I won't even ask a dowry. Other than you bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines. Now, knowing that he would have to kill 100 Philistines in order to bring this dowry back to him, that's why he presented that to David. He knew David would go ahead and try because he loved Michal. So he thinks this is his end. This is his end, not his end. This is his end. This is how he's going to get rid of David. David went out to get a dowry and he challenged the Philistines, and the Philistines won. So verse 26. So when his servants told David these words, it pleased David. It pleased David well to become the king's son-in-law. Now the days had not expired, therefore David arose and went, he and his men, and killed 200 of the Philistines, and brought back their foreskins and gave them in full count to the king, that he might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, as a wife. So failure number 2. Failure number 2. First, you had a chance with him with the spear, missed. Either you can't aim right, or David just had the matrix, going on. Missed. So now your plot is, I'll get him to go do this, to carry this out, and the Philistines will handle my light work for me. Guess what? Failure number 2. See, Saul, he feared David because the Lord was with him. He feared David because David behaved wisely. So somehow he thinks that his plan is greater than the fact that the Lord was with David. He thinks that his plan, his plot, is greater than the fact that David behaved wisely and the Lord was with him. See? That's how off-center Saul was in his thinking. So David arose. He took his men. Remember, he was commander of 1,000. So, and he only needed 100 foreskins, but they got 200. So what was Saul thinking? Saul put him in command of 1,000. Did you not think that he was going to take enough to be able to get this dowry? Did you not think? No, he wasn't thinking straight. Verse 28. Thus Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David. Again. Really, Saul? Come on, man. Thus Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. Verse 29. And Saul was still more afraid of David. So Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went out to war. And so it was, whenever they went out, that David behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul, that his name became highly esteemed. So we have here 2 times in this 20-verse passage that David behaved wisely. He behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. And in the end of verse 30, and so it was whenever they went out that David behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name became highly esteemed. David behaved wisely. Saul, this after the first attempt of Saul to take his life, that was blatant and obvious. So there was pretty much no mistake. There's no misunderstanding, no misinterpretation. You're sitting there playing the harp, and the one whom you're playing it for to soothe his spirit, because a tormenting spirit from God is upon him, and you're sitting there playing, and he chucks a spear directly at you. No misinterpretation of that. Saul, what's up, man? Oh, no, I didn't see you. I didn't know you were sitting there. My bad. I just felt like, I had an arm spasm, and it just kind of went. No. Unmistakably, without a doubt, Saul tried to take him out. But David behaved wisely. He behaved wisely. And here in the end, and so it was whenever they went out, David behaved more wisely than all of Saul's servants. He behaved more wisely, knowing that the king is trying to kill him. See, if David knew or not, he never let on that Saul was trying to trick him into fighting the Philistines, and that Saul wanted the Philistines to win. You see, David didn't, knowing that the king was knowing that what the king's intentions were. So now the king gives David his daughter, the daughter that he desires, in wedlock, and asks for this as a dowry. David's thought and David's mindset were not of self-preservation. They were not, his mindset and his thought process was not, well, why are you giving me your daughter? Number one is because it was part of the promise for killing Goliath anyway. Okay? But David didn't sit and try to figure out. David didn't sit and ponder the motives of his enemy, of the one he knew was trying to kill him. He didn't try to sit and ponder the motives. But he behaved more wisely. He behaved wisely in all his ways, and behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul. Behave wisely. What does it mean to behave wisely? For us as believers, to behave wisely is to rightly apply what the Word of God says to our lives. That is the definition of wisdom. When we do what it is that the Lord would call us to do. We behave in the manner that He commands us, desires that we behave. In a manner holy and pleasing to Him. So that when He looks in this earth and He looks down upon His people, that He sees Himself reflected. That is behaving wisely. What is not behaving wisely? Being about self. Being about self. See, a friend of mine shared a quote from C.S. Lewis, and I reposted it on Facebook. He said, true humility is not thinking less of yourself. True humility is thinking of yourself less. See, David wasn't doing anything for his own gain, for his own promotion, for his own elevation. David wasn't doing anything. All he was doing it for the glory of God. David was doing everything that he did because he knew who he was. He was secure in his relationship with God. Now, bear in mind, David didn't have Jesus. David didn't have the blood of Jesus like we have. David didn't have an indwelling Holy Spirit like we have. David had an anointing. The prophet Samuel came, put the oil on his head. Everything that the oil represented, David knew that that's what he had. He knew that that was from God. And so he knew now that his life had to reflect the fact that God had anointed him in that manner. That he had to serve that God. So it prompted him to behave wisely in everything that he did. He didn't do anything to promote himself. He didn't after the anointing, like I said before, he didn't, try to go to king's school. He didn't try to change his dress. He didn't try to change his appearance. He didn't try to change his status. He didn't try to change his occupation. He didn't try to change his assignment. He did what he was asked to do by his father, by the king, by whomever was given orders. David did not begin to promote himself. He didn't begin to promote himself. Very little that David did was about himself. Really, you could say the only thing that really was about himself was taking Michal as his wife. King offered her. He was interested. Okay, but that wasn't a selfish thing. That was a man thing. That was what you do. That's what you do. King offers his bride. You're interested? Guess what? Bang! It's happening. It's happening. It's finna go down. All right, down. Okay, but see. David didn't promote himself. After the battle, Jonathan, Saul's own son, pledged covenant friendship with David. Michal, Saul's daughter, fell in love with David. people of Israel and Judah sang David's praises. The men that he was put over, the armies, they loved him. He found favor with them everywhere. It says in the people of Judah. Verse 16, but all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. Because David wasn't about himself. Because David was about serving God. Because David was about exalting God and lifting up God. David behaved wisely. He behaved more wisely. The way to behave more wisely. Do what you do for the glory of God. Do what you do for the glory of God. Remember that in all situations, in all circumstances. Do what you do to the glory of God. No matter what that situation is. No matter if the person that you're serving throws a spear at you. You do what you do to the glory of God. You don't try to change anything about your situation. You don't panic. You don't run in fear. You don't get in a self-defense mode. You don't get in a revenge mode. You get in a praise mode. You get in a worship mode. You get in a glorifying God mode. That's what you do. And you see, every time it says, David behaved wisely, and the Lord was with him. That's verse 14. David behaved wisely, and the Lord was with him. And you see, every time, previous to, here you go, prior to, let me read verse 12. Verse 14, David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Before that, verse 12, now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him. After that, David behaved wisely, and the Lord was with him. Therefore, verse 15, Saul saw that he behaved wisely and was afraid of him. Every time he behaved wisely, Saul got more afraid. Every time we behave wisely in a situation where the enemy tries to take us out, every time we behave wisely, he becomes more afraid. He becomes more afraid. But you see, like I said before, there's 7 different instances where Saul tried to kill David. So the enemy, he's becoming more afraid. And in his fear, he's going to work harder. He's going to work a different plan to try to take you out. But that doesn't give us any excuse not to behave wisely. Behave more wisely. So that the Lord will be with us. So that he will be with us. I can't say it enough. Can't say it enough. And so it was. Whenever they went out, verse 30, David behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul. Verse 29, and Saul was still more afraid of David. His fear of David increased. Every time his fear of David increased, he did something to try to take David out. But David behaved wisely and gave Saul that much more reason to fear him. But Saul's greatest plots and plans, as we're going to go in the weeks to come, talking about all these different ways that Saul devised to kill David. David never became about himself. It never became a thing of self-preservation. I have to watch out for me. I have to protect myself. I have to remove myself from this situation because this guy's trying to take me out. And I need to change this. I need to do this. I need to do that. David never gets in that mode. His mode is always honoring God. His mode is always serving God. His mode is always making sure God can be honored. That God gets the glory in whatever's going on. See, even though David's life was in physical danger from the one he was called to serve, to be an aid and use his gift, he was in danger from the one who was being tormented, and he was called in to use his gift to help this person out. Physical danger did not change David's assignment. Saul tried to kill him, but that didn't change David's assignment. It didn't change his purpose. We forget that sometimes as believers. Sometimes we will be in a place that's not comfortable. We will be in a place it seems to be hurting us. We'll be in a place where our very life, seems to be in danger. We want to change our situation. We want to change the assignment. We want to end that season. We want to do all of that. But God is saying, just honor me. God is saying, behave wisely, and I'll be with you. God is saying, do what you do so that I can receive honor and glory, and your enemy will grow more and more afraid of you. But as he grows more and more afraid, he's going to devise more devious plans. He's going to make more attempts to take you out. But as we know, just from the word, he failed over and over and over again, because David behaved wisely. He behaved wisely and was feared by Saul because God was with him. Not David. Saul looked at David and was afraid. Then he did what he did, and David behaved wisely, and Saul became more afraid. Put the enemy in fear. See, there's really, in a war, there's only room for fear on one side. There's only room for fear on one side. When you trust God, it's like a tennis match. Wimbledon, they just finished it out. See, the ball is fear. You hit it up, you serve it to the enemy side. Boom. You see, the enemy's got confidence. The enemy knows that he believes he's going to take you out. He's going to keep trying to take you out. Boom. So he hits it back on your side. See? But if you don't work on your game, if you don't practice knocking fear back to the other side, you're going to swing and miss. And the ball stays on your side. The enemy scores. 15 love. 15 love. See? It's like, well, let's give it another shot. Boom, pow. He returns it right back. You hit what you think is a good shot down the other side. Oh yeah, I'm going to stand firm this time. Shoot, he hits another one. Swing and a miss. 30 love. Fear. But see, when you realize that God's on your side, that you're on his side, okay, now you take fear here. Boom, right down the middle. Ace, he can't return it. 30-15. Oh, yeah. So he's more fearful now. So you take that fear and you knock it back to his side. He returns it, but he throws a soft lob up there. It bounces and you smash it down his throat this time. Pow! 30-30. 30-30. Don't hold fear on your side. Fear can only be on one side of the net. When it comes on your side of the net, knock it back over to the enemy's side.
No, that's right.
Knock it back over to the enemy's side. It's 30-30. But the battle's going to continue. The match is not over. So you throw up fear again. I'm not keeping it. Bang, you knock it over to his side. He's struggling for it. He swings and misses. Oh, it's a whiff. 40-30. You're winning now. You're winning now. And now I'm just done with fear. There's no place for it over here. Serve it up again. Pow, right down the middle. Ace, he never even gets a chance to return it. Game over. Game over. Game over. Don't hold fear on your side of the net. There's only room for it on one side. Put fear on the other side of the net. Put fear on the other side of the net. You behave wisely. You behave in a manner that's going to honor and glorify God throughout your hard times, through your troubles, struggles, your situations, your circumstances, whatever isms and schisms try to come against you. If you behave in a manner, if you give honor and glory to God, like that song said, I will give glory to God forever. I will praise him forever. I will worship him forever. See, we don't really know what forever means, because we don't have forever. God has forever in him. He knows what it means. See, we use those, but we really don't have a full understanding. See, the word says, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. That's not based on situation or circumstance. That's based on God, because God doesn't change. God doesn't move. We move. We change. Situations change. Circumstances change. All these different things change. But the God who's above all of that, the God who's in control of all of those things, does not change. So therefore, if he doesn't change, our praise should not change. If he doesn't change, our worship should not change. Our worship of him should not change. What also should not change is our fear of anything that comes against us. Should not change. It might try to come in. It might try to come in. We're humans. God gave us that emotion. Fear is an emotion. Okay? It's a feeling. But you know what you do with that feeling? Throw it in the air and you knock it to the other side of the net. Because it doesn't belong on this side. It doesn't belong on this side of the net. It doesn't belong. And see, so the enemy, once he gets more fear, it's going to be his turn to serve. It's going to be his turn to serve sooner or later. Like in every tennis match. It's going to be his turn to serve. See, but you got faith. Faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. You got God's mercy. You got his grace. All of these things. You got Jeremiah 29:11. It says, I know the thoughts I have for you. You got all of that. So that makes your racket giant. He's serving a little tennis ball, but you got this big giant racket over here. He's serving his best thing, and you're just like, poop. Not on this side. Fear don't go on this side. I'm sorry. Poop. And he can't return it. He can't return it. You don't have to smash it. You don't have to do it and run up to the net or anything like that. You take your big old racket and just poop back to the other side. Stand. Stand. He won't be able to return it. The God whom we serve, the God who makes all these promises to us, the God who is all these different things to us. We say Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Shammah, Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah Rohi, Jehovah Sekenu, all these different Jehovahs. If he's all of these different things to us, we have no reason to fear. We have no reason to yield to the enemy. We have no reason to do anything other than behave wisely when the enemy is trying to take us out. There's no need to panic. To panic. No need to panic. No need to sit and wonder. I don't see anywhere in there. You can read through chapter 18, verses 10, all the way to verse 30, where David retreated, sat back and wondered and pondered why Saul was doing what he was doing. Well, why? What did I do to Saul? I didn't do anything to Saul. Why is he trying to kill me? Why is he trying to take me out? Didn't matter. It didn't matter. Why? Why? Because David behaved wisely. Because David knew his God. Amen. He knew that the God he served. Because David knew that if he could kill a bear and a lion with his bare hand, because God was on his side, then this crazy king, this tormented king, he just slayed a giant. 9'9" fell with a rock. 9'9" got his head cut off with his own sword by a teenager. Why? Because God was meant to get the glory. Because God was meant to get the glory. When God is meant to get the glory, bears and lions get killed with your bare hands. When God is meant to get the glory, a giant falls with a rock. Falls with a rock. And then his head is taken with his own sword. When God gets the glory, when God gets the glory, your faithful friends will present themselves to you. By the way, that's also an example of how we present ourselves to others as friends. We take off a princely robe. We take this, that identifies us. We put our identity aside. We take off our tunic, which means we're vulnerable. We take away our weapons to say, I won't hurt you. That's how we present ourselves as well. Because we can't sit on one side and say, I receive you like that. But we still got on our robe, our tunic, and all our weapons. See, it takes two. It takes two for that covenant. You see, when we behave wisely, the enemy will see that God